In this video, we'll be adding the code that keeps score, tracks progress, and shows it to the user. Looking at the activity underscore main XML, we see that there are two layout elements that we need for the score and the progress. The first is a text view with the ID of score, and the second is a progress bar with the ID progress underscore bar. Let's link these two layout elements to the Java code in the same way that we've added the buttons and the text view for displaying the question. For this, we need to create two member variables, one called mScoreTextView and another called mProgressBar. And then we link these variables to the layout elements using FindViewById. Can you do this for yourself? I'll give you a few seconds to pause the video. Okay, so here's how you do it. First, we create the member variables, TextView, mScoreTextView, ProgressBar, mProgressBar, and now we link them with FindViewById. To track the user's score, we also need another member variable. Let's call this variable mScore. While mIndex is increasing by 1 for every question that the user answers, mScore will only increase for every question that the user got right. But every time that the user answers a question, we want our progress bar to fill up bit by bit. We'll store the amount that the progress bar fills up as a constant. To create that constant, we'll use the keyword final, and we'll call this constant progress underscore bar underscore increment in all caps. And we set the value of this constant equal to 8. When we update the question on screen, we want the progress bar to fill up a little bit. So let's put that code inside the updateQuestion method. Here we are telling our mProgressBar to increment the progress by the value of 8 out of 100. So now our progress bar will fill up a little bit every time the user presses a button. Let's run the app and try it out. Fantastic. Time to keep track of how many questions the user got right. A good place to add this code is at the point when we know that the user has gotten the correct answer. And that's in the if statement inside the checkAnswer method. Here we'll update the mScore variable by 1. But just because we've updated the value of the mScore variable doesn't mean that the user can see this yet. For the score to be displayed on screen, we need to update the mScoreTextView. And since we're updating a lot of the things on screen inside updateQuestion, this is the same place where we're going to update the mScoreTextView. Since the mScoreTextView is a text view like any other, we simply write mScoreTextView.setText and then provide the score to display inside the parentheses. Once again, instead of having that hard-coded 13 in the score label, let's use the length of the question bank instead. That way, our score label will always display the total number of quiz questions in the question bank. But there's actually one more thing that has to change according to the number of quiz questions. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's the amount by which we increment the progress bar every time a question is answered. At the moment, that progress bar increment has a fixed value of 8, because 100 divided by 13, rounded up, is equal to 8. But what we actually need is that progress bar increment to take into account the number of quiz questions. So how do we do this? We could type something like 100 divided by mQuestionBank.length. But then we'll get confronted with an error, because we're using mQuestionBank before we've actually declared it. So let's fix this by moving this code below the part where we create the question bank. Okay, so we've cut and pasted. Now the error goes away, but we actually have a different problem that we need to solve. The integer 100 divided by the integer 13 will give us an integer of the value 7. That means if we leave it like this, our progress bar will actually never fill up entirely. Instead, what we'd want to do is round up to the nearest integer. To do that, we'll call math.ceil, which is short for ceiling. However, this math function takes a double or decimal number as an input and also returns a decimal number. Since our progress bar increment is an integer, we'll add int in parentheses to convert the output from the math.ceiling method to a whole number. Now all we have to do is fix one final detail. The input to this method should be a decimal number, but our calculation divides a whole number, 100, by another whole number, namely 13. To ensure that Java calculates this division with decimal numbers instead, we simply add a decimal point after the number 100. Now let's run the app again. Does the score update? Do you notice anything odd? Have a bit of a play with it. Now it turns out there's actually some problems with this app. First of all, what happens when we rotate the device? We get thrown back to the first question and our score resets to 0. Also, what happens when we reach the end of the quiz? We simply get thrown back to the first question and our score keeps going up and up and up. In the next video, we're going to address these two problems and fix our bugs regarding the screen rotation and finishing the quiz when the user gets to the end. I'll see you there.